Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new here. My name is Isra. Today I'm going to be starting off with part 1 of a series where I talk about my journey to Japan and how much this has changed my life so much. And being in Japan transformed me in a way where I wouldn't even have imagined. I was there for 2 years, but those 2 years felt like 5. Today, part 1, I'm going to be talking about before going to Japan. At the age of 10, I had put in my mind, I'm going to go to Japan no matter what. I grew up in a conservative family, and to travel on my own was a big no-no. It was like, you need to get married and then you could travel with your husband. And that infuriated me. This brought up this fire inside of me of like, I don't need to get married in order to travel. I'm a free person. I can do whatever I want. At the age of 19, my parents left to Lebanon, and I then started to wake up. I realized how much of my truth was suppressed. I realized how much of me was not welcomed by my background, and how much I had really put it into this safe box so no one could know about my true self. Prior to that, I was into anime. I think a lot of people get introduced to Japanese culture through anime, and it's very different. Anime is very attractive because it's not predictable. It's different from overall Western kind of way of thinking. At the age of 10, I watched Rurouni Kenshin, and it's about a samurai, an assassin, who was seeking the true meaning of justice after being, in a way, brainwashed or deceived into thinking that justice was through assassination. And at some point, he swore to never kill another person ever again. And that really, there's something about seeking what justice means in that anime that really touched me. And the meaning of friendship, oh my goodness. I think of One Piece as being such a great example of the meaning of friendship. And friendship means a lot to me. Friends are your family members who you choose. Continued reading a lot of manga, watching anime, and studied about Japanese culture in university. I studied about Japanese tea ceremonies, which I'm really highly fascinated in. Now I'm doing cacao ceremonies, which is almost, I want to say, similar, where you're like really connecting, meditating through this drink. But cacao, there's for sure a lot more that I would like to share. I actually have a video about that if you're interested in checking that out, about cacao and what it's all about. And about this true deep connection to one another, because there's this external face where people hide themselves. And it's quite a lonely place when you hide yourself. And I, for one, understand that very well. I went through extreme loneliness because two things. I rejected receiving love out of a way of protecting myself, and to reiterate this story within my mind that I'm a victim and that no one will love me. And ultimately, that's not true. I did a lot of inner work to get to that point where I know I am so worthy, and that I am worthy of so much more than I can even imagine, as you are as well. And this came through my spiritual awakening that happened in Japan. But I'll talk more about that in part 2 and 3. So when I graduated from university, I went for 5 years, anthropology and psychology. I then decided to go to Japan through the JET program. The JET program is a program where you can teach English in Japan, and great pay, very affordable rent as well. I also have a video about that where I talk about my teaching experience in Japan. I was accepted through the JET program. And just to rewind a bit, I was actually wearing the hijab since I was 10 years old. And at that time, I was wearing the hijab, and it never really held me back from doing what I loved. I always did something that I loved, and I was a tree planter for 3 years, really laborious work, where you're planting 900 plus trees per person, or even like the most that I did was 2,200 trees one day, which was extremely exhausting. I don't do that anymore. Now I'm more into this yin kind of lifestyle, more feminine, more flowy, more laid back. I told my mom. My mom was like, I actually didn't ask her, I told her, because I'm not gonna be made to feel guilty for following my dreams. And I know a lot of people, they hold back because they don't want to upset their parents. But ultimately, what's gonna happen is there's gonna be resentment within. And that resentment is gonna affect your health eventually. So it's very important to listen to yourself and to follow what your heart wants. And that feeling, for some, might feel selfish. And it's not. It's actually essential that you do follow yourself, because you might be bringing some sort of learning experience for your parent to break the cycle of people pleasing. And people pleasing is also present with parents. With me going into university, was I trying to please society? I guess so, maybe. Unless you're going to university for yourself, I would recommend not to do it unless you know what you're going to do with it and you're really passionate about it. Especially here in Canada or in the US, you're paying money to go to university. You don't want to graduate with so much debt and not actually have a job. I eventually went to Japan. I went to the prefecture of Yamaguchi, that's south of Hiroshima. It was honestly one of the most beautiful places I could imagine going to. It was this lush nature place, a river flowing by, mountains, there was a castle close by. It was honestly perfect place for me. I had a 3-bedroom apartment and didn't pay much. I paid like $240 per month for my apartment, and it was so great. I'm going to be talking about part 2 about what happened when I got to Japan and how immensely transformative it was being there for the first month. So many changes took place, and I'm going to talk about when I took off the hijab, and that's the thing where I was absolutely terrified of doing, coming back into my own truth. The hijab is beautiful, but it's not for everyone. That's what I think. So, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in part 2 of this series.